Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Ashley and today went off the rails. I had intended to sit down and do a second get ready with me try on video of the things that I purchased in the second half of my Sephora haul. Oh boy, it turned into quite a ramble about everything that's been going on with me recently and the ideas and the hopes that I have for the upcoming year here on my channel. So hopefully you will find that interesting. I have linked everything that I used down in the description box below because I did not talk about it during the video. So I hope that you enjoy this video, and if you are new, welcome. My name is Ashley. I do a lot of beauty related content, though I am open to suggestion. That's one of the things we talk about. So without further ado, because you're going to get a ton of rambling from here on forward, let's jump into how I got this look today. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is go in with the new Prada foundation. Now, of course, when I say new, I just mean new to me. I picked it up during the Sephora sale, and I've used it quite a bit, and I've been really enjoying it, which is great because it is quite expensive. Now, I have already applied all of my skincare. In fact, I applied it quite a while ago because I got everything together to sit down and film, and the truth is, probably for most of this year, I have been suffering from a crisis of confidence. So in order to stall, I curled my hair. So my skincare has been on for a very long time at this point. And I did try out a new SPF. When I was at Target, I saw that they had Prequel. And everybody's been talking about Prequel for quite a while now. And so when I saw it on the shelf, I was like, okay, well, I am definitely going to need to pick that up. I am almost out of the Beauty by Joseon. No, is that really what it's called? Beauty of Joseon. I knew I was saying it wrong. I have like one use left in that. And I wanted to buy some more, but I've just been putting it off because I get mine from Beauty Bay typically, and I just haven't ordered anything. There really is no rhyme or reason to it. I just haven't done it. But when I saw again the Prequel at Target, I was like, this is a sign that we should be giving it a try. But as you can see, this foundation is such a gorgeous match, and I always feel so lovely when I'm wearing it. But I'm a little bit interested to see how it sits with the new sunscreen. The Prequel sunscreen, I did notice, is a little bit thicker and a little bit heavier. I have usually balanced to dry skin, so for me specifically, that's not typically a problem. But I am interested to see how it is going to wear throughout the day and kind of go from there. So I am using my new Makeup by Mario F4, I think, yep, F4 brush that I picked up. And so far, this is the first time using it. I saved it for doing a try-on video. And I'm really enjoying this very first impression, which I know I don't typically do a lot of first impressions. And the brushes are honestly the only first impressions that I have here. Everything else has been used, and I have thoughts and opinions on them. But let's talk a little bit about my crisis in confidence, because I feel like it's worth discussing in case anybody else has had those kinds of feelings. Now, while I'm talking to you, I am going to be mixing the two blushes together. I really have been loving both of these, but because of the palette I'm going in with, I feel like trying to mix the two together makes sense. So I'm excited to try that out. I've been wanting to do it for a bit and I just haven't. But I've had a lot of crisis of confidence, and I'm not entirely sure where it stems from. But I know that a lot of it has to do with my performance here on YouTube, which sounds really silly, right? This is not a job for me. This is supposed to be a hobby for me. And yet, I've been feeling the effects of drops in viewership pretty substantially. And I think that the reason that I have let it kind of bother me so much is because I'm not working. So I don't have external validation. And so YouTube, for a long time now, this is what it looks like before I mix it together, has been my external validation. And so when that starts to kind of fall apart, or so it kind of feels, I know that sounds dramatic. Let's mix together. Ooh, that looks really pretty. There we go. So when that kind of falls apart, I don't really know how to cope with it, I suppose. I know, again, these are kind of dramatic words that I'm using, but I think for any of you who have gone through kind of life changes, it seems like for some of us, this dealing with the small things can be a lot harder than dealing with the really, really big things, right? And we've all gone through a lot of changes over the past 4 years. I mean, the world is a wildly different place now than it was prior to the pandemic. Like, regardless of how you feel about everything that kind of went on during that time, I don't think there's anyone who is going to disagree with the fact that the world is just a very different place now versus 2019, right? And kind of where we all sit in it has changed too. And a lot of our situations, for the most part, I know I'm using big generalizations here, but there have just been a lot of changes. And I feel like sometimes it's hard to catch up with those. And even on YouTube, for example, the things that I watch don't tend to be the same. I've noticed that I'm not given a lot of beauty content in the same way that I was back then. And I don't know if it's because the beauty community itself has been changing so much, or if it's just like what I've been watching has been kind of really dictating. And I know it does feed into the algorithm, obviously. But it's just hard to say what's going on with the beauty community. And so doing the things that I was doing before that are not getting the same type of viewership that they did get before, and not really knowing what to do about it, it just leads to feeling like it's me, right? And so I think that's where my crisis of confidence is. Like, I will get ideas that I think, oh, that would be a really fun video to do. And then I'll get all this stuff together and I'll sit down and the intrusive thoughts begin. And I start thinking like, I'm just not good enough. And why am I sitting here putting myself through this? And then I'm going to look at my analytics and just feel worthless about it. And I don't really know how to address that, because it's clearly not what any of us want. But it's hard to kind of turn your brain off from doing some of those things. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. And so I would love your feedback as to kind of what you are watching these days and what kind of stuff is interesting, because I've sat down and decided, I think I'm going to do a declutter, because it's been quite a while since I've done that. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll film that, because every now and then I'll do kind of a mild declutter, in the sense that if I pull something out and I'm like, this is just not working, I don't like this, or this isn't performing well, then I'll just go ahead and declutter it then and there. But I haven't really gone through and done like a true declutter. And part of that is because I buy everything that I own, right? I get basically no PR. I did for a little while get some sponsorships, but those are not panning out because my views have dropped so low and things like that. So I don't like decluttering because there's a part of me that's like, I spent money on that and it hurts to then get rid of it, right? Because whether it's expired or something that I just don't use anymore, or it's just gotten lost in the shuffle, or something that I know a lot of us fall prey to, and that's unintentionally repurchasing essentially the same thing over and over and over again. I do this a lot with lipsticks. I will have a half a dozen lipsticks from different brands that are all pretty much the same color, right? I mean, I'm sure they're nuanced and a little bit different in ways, but in general, it's basically the same thing. So I know that those can probably find their way out of my collection. I'm just going in with bronzer from, this is the Jellyfish palette from Hourglass that they released last year. I didn't buy a new one this year because I still have this one and one other one. But what I find troubling is that it's really easy to fall into the declutter, purchase, declutter cycle. And I don't love doing that. I think it's easy to forget sometimes that a lot of the beauty YouTubers that I do still watch that, are still around, they get sent a lot of stuff in PR. They also, this is their job. This is what they have budgeted for in their job. And I am not that person, right? And I need to find a better way of, I don't want to say living within my means because that's not exactly what I mean, but I got to figure out how to heal my relationship with makeup. I, for a very long time, have always loved the creativity of makeup. And I think for quite a while, that's also where kind of the beauty space was. There was a lot of color. There was a lot of like palette bingos. There was a lot of just fun creativity that was abounding. And it just doesn't seem like that's where things are right now. And in an effort to kind of maintain relevancy, I suppose, even though I don't think I ever was overly relevant to begin with, just to be honest with myself and everyone in the room. I started kind of changing how I was approaching makeup and my YouTube channel, and I feel like we all just kind of got away from it. And maybe I've just answered my own question there. I'm going to go in with the new Ethereal Moonlight palette from Makeup by Mario. Perhaps I've just answered my own question there. Perhaps I've gotten too far away from what to me was authentic to why I started my YouTube channel. I started my YouTube channel because I really wanted to build a community of people that loved makeup. In my personal life, in my quote-unquote real life, my friends are not obsessed with makeup in the way that I am. They don't wear, colorful eyeshadow. They just wear your sort of standard everyday makeup. And there's nothing wrong with that by any means. I'm certainly not, casting any shade in anyone's direction. But it's a little bit difficult to kind of gush about makeup and things that are coming out and fun things like that with, people that's not what they use makeup for and where their kind of passion is, right? I'm sure we've all had that TV show or book or something that we are really excited to talk about, and the person that we're talking about it with is just like, I guess that's cool. It's a deflating feeling. And so by having a YouTube channel, it was always my intention to just find that sense of community. And for a while, I feel like I had. And then the pandemic hit, and not just the pandemic. I cannot blame that everywhere because I changed too. I had children. When I first started my YouTube channel, I think my 7-year-old son, well, he's 7-year-old now, but I think he had just been born right around that time. And now I have 3 kids, and that takes up a lot of time. That takes up a lot of energy. And it made it really difficult to find the time to film, especially when everybody was at home and wild. I have wild children who I would not trade them for the world or change them, but you know, it's really kind of difficult to sit down and do this when you have everybody screaming for mommy 4 seconds after I leave the room. I don't know if anyone else has experienced this, but man, if I'm just sitting on the couch doing a whole lot of nothing, looking at my phone or just not really needing to do anything or interact or something, man, nobody cares if I'm home. Nobody cares if I am home. However, the moment I try to do anything, all of a sudden, everybody needs and wants me. Everyone wants to talk to me. Everyone has questions for me. Everyone needs me to do stuff. And I know it's not really that way, but that's how it feels oftentimes. And I don't think I'm alone in that. Wow, that blue has a ton of kick up. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. That blue has a lot of kick up. I'm nervous. I haven't used the blue in this yet, so wish me luck. So that definitely played into it and meant that I was a lot less present when interacting with those that I had previously interacted with. And it all sort of culminated in kind of where I'm at now, where I feel like I've lost my purpose and I don't 100% know how to get it back again, because it's really deflating to sit down and put a ton of effort into something and for it to feel sometimes like nobody cares. And that's not true, because, you know, I know that I have people out there that enjoy my videos and that actually watch them and all that kind of stuff. And I value you so much. It's hard to feel that sometimes, that recognition in the moment when you've spent, again, a ton of time and energy into doing something, and it can sometimes feel wasted. And I feel really terrible saying that out loud because it feels mean, but that's not the intention that I have. So that's why I say I've been kind of struggling with a lack of confidence. Also, there are times, this look being one of them, because I'm distracted while doing it, but also there have been a lot of times lately where I've been like, do I even know how to do makeup? Like, I will sit down, even when I'm not like filming or doing anything, but I'll just sit down to put my makeup on because that's a ritual that I genuinely love and enjoy, because it's time. Ooh, that's some kick up. It's time that I get to spend focused on just me and not what everybody needs of me. But there are definitely times when I'll be sitting doing my makeup just for me for the day, and I'm like, what am I even doing? Like, this looks like just absolute garbage. And so I feel like that has played into the whole game together, that lack of confidence, and then also feeling like I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. And this is incredibly rambly, and it's mostly just to kind of give an idea of where I am and how I'm feeling. And I'll have those moments of positivity, right, where I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to do it for me. And if people watch, people watch. If people don't, people don't. And that's a really easy feeling to have when you're removed from it. And then once I sit down and I start actually trying to do something, all of that self-doubt and all of that fear and anxiety really kind of creep in and kind of just taints the entire thing. And then it feels reinforced when my views are not what I would want them to be. So I hope all of that makes sense. I'm going to try to clean this up a little bit. I've gotten I've lost the plot a little bit while chatting, so I'm going to clean this up, and then we're going to add some shimmer, but this is looking wild. All right, it was not as bad as I kind of thought it was. I think it was the lack of brows was really causing a little bit of trouble in my brain. So I did clean up just a little bit, and I got a mirror to help me see myself a little bit better. And I'm just going to do a little bit of blue on the lower lash line, being very, very, very careful. Because this is a blue that can get, at least on my incredibly fair skin, a little out of control a little quickly. So I'm just putting a little bit on and then taking a lighter shade to kind of diffuse it out just a little bit. So I know that there was a lot of rambling there, and I'm just trying to give you an idea of kind of how I'm feeling these days. And I don't know if I'm the only one that's kind of in this space. I can't imagine that I am, because let's be honest, I am just not that unique. But I would love to know if you have been in kind of a similar position, whether it be in your actual job or if you are a creative person and you just feel like you've lost all of your confidence, what you kind of did to help bring some of that back. Because I am very interested to know. I've been trying to listen to a variety of different things to hopefully, I don't know, give me some perspective, I suppose. And I watch Alex, I can't think of how to say her last name, and I certainly don't want to say it incorrectly, but I'll link her. She recently did a video talking about her OCD and kind of how she stopped hating herself. And I really feel like it resonated a lot with me. And one of the things that she said is that she didn't realize she was a perfectionist, because the idea that many of us have of a perfectionist is that they do everything perfectly. And she was like, man, I do not do everything perfectly. But she said that one of the things that she discovered, I think through a therapist perhaps, was the idea of needing to do things just right. And that set the little light bulb off, because I never feel like I do anything perfectly, but I do have like this really high standard for myself and the things that I do. And if I don't meet that standard, no matter how imperfect it is, I struggle with that. So an example of that would be when I was in maybe high school, but definitely college. I would take notes in class, but they would be on just like regular loose paper. And I would then get home and painstakingly transcribe those notes into my notebook. And if the handwriting didn't look as good as I wanted it to, or, it just started to look bad, I would start over, because I just had this idea in my mind that, when I'm looking at my notebook, it needed to be this like aesthetically perfect handwriting looking back at me in order for my notes to be worthwhile or valid. And it sounds, even saying it out loud, it sounds so stupid, right? That just sounds ridiculous. But that is absolutely, and I still do that. I write a to-do list for myself most days. And if I start out and my handwriting is not looking good in my estimation, I'll start over. So this idea of, just right really kind of resonated with me. And I feel like maybe that's what I'm putting onto my hobbies at this point, because again, this is a hobby. This is not my job. I mean, it would be super cool if it was, don't get me wrong, but this is not like high stakes, but I make it in my mind super high stakes. And so then when I don't live up to that sort of pedestal, I suppose, that I put not myself, but my needs to achieve, then I start feeling really, really bad about myself and the feelings of worthlessness that come with not meeting your own expectations, even if those expectations are ridiculous. And it's one thing to be able to say all that out loud, and it makes sense. But then the transition from I understand this to what to do to address it, and then the actual steps to address it. I'm not there yet. This is all a bit new. But I found it to be a very interesting video. I don't believe I have OCD, but I am like 99% sure that I have undiagnosed ADHD. I know I was diagnosed with ADD when I was in elementary school. And it's interesting because that was in the late 80s, early 90s. I don't remember exactly what year it was because I was having a lot of trouble focusing in school, but it was more of I doodled a lot. I colored a lot. I never appeared as though I was paying attention, and it would drive my teachers bananas because they would try to, pop question, to try to make me feel, shameful for not paying attention. And I typically, had the right answer because it wasn't that I wasn't listening. It was just my brain needed more to do, right? But that wasn't well understood at that point in time. And a lot of girls, they now recognize that ADHD presents differently in girls than it does in boys. And so since I didn't fit the physical hyperactivity aspect, I was just diagnosed with ADD. Now, at that point in time, my parents chose not to medicate me for it. And as a 40-year-old woman, I have no idea whether or not that was the right or wrong move. We will never have the answer to that. But I am seeing a lot of things within myself now that there's a lot more information about things like that. I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. So I'm incredibly sure that I have ADHD, but I probably should get that diagnosed and addressed. Maybe that's a goal for 2025, is to, get all that madness straightened out. But there's also this feeling of denial. And I talked about this recently in the book club that I joined in my neighborhood, that in my opinion, there are multiple forms of denial. And there's denial is in, that's not happening. That doesn't exist, right? But I would argue that there is a form of denial where you think something's going on, but until it's been confirmed, you don't have to deal with it because it's not real. Like, you can be anxious about something, or you can have worries about something. Let's say infidelity is kind of a big example. You can worry that that's what's going on, but you don't have to actually do something about it until it's been confirmed. And so for me, I feel like that is a form of denial, right? And so I'm wondering now if by not getting a diagnosis of any type, that's probably also a form of denial, that now that I've said it out loud, maybe it needs to move into a different category. But that is neither here nor there, and not something that is going to be resolved in this particular video. But again, I just wanted to talk about where I'm at these days because, I went with long periods of time where I wasn't uploading, and that was for a variety of reasons, one of which was that just crushing feeling of unworthiness that, again, felt like it kept getting reinforced by the analytics. And so I try really hard not to look at the analytics, but it's kind of impossible not to. And especially because I do try to respond to comments, but sometimes I will try to make myself go the whole day without opening the app at all, so that I'm not just overly focused on how well I am or am not performing as far as the metrics go. So I know that's super rambly. So I am going to put on some lipstick and then talk a little bit about kind of my thoughts and ideas for 2025. And I would love to know kind of your feedback, if that's the kind of stuff that you're into and would watch, or if maybe I need to go back to the drawing board. I just know that I cannot talk and apply lip products at the same time. The fact that I did mascara while talking is kind of incredible. I absolutely love this shade. This is from the Merit collection that I picked up. So this is the shade Jour. It is the lightest shade, the one that I was most concerned about not being flattering on me, but it is also the one that I can't seem to put down. So I did combine that with the ColourPop So Juicy lip liner in Westwood. Yes, Westwood. So let me go ahead and zoom y'all out, and I will kind of talk about what my thoughts are for 2025 and see if I can get some of your feedback. All right, so this is the finished look. It is lovely. It is beautiful. I will link everything down below. But let's talk about what my thoughts and ideas are for next year. So I definitely want to kind of re-embrace some more panning. So I'm thinking I'm going to continue with my rolling 10 pan. I may do some refresh, keep some things. I'm not 100% sure where I'm at there, but that is the idea that I have. I also want to kind of step my toes back into some eyeshadow panning. I have an idea for a project that I'm loosely going to be calling Pan It or Pass It, something along those lines, where I'm going to randomize my eyeshadow palettes because I have a bajillion of them. And then in that moment decide, am I going to pan this or am I going to declutter it? And if I decide I'm going to pan it, then I'm going to randomize a usage number. It's kind of like Sophia Alexandra's, I hope I'm saying that right. I've been watching her channel for ages and I'm just mentally deficient right now. She created the Level Up Project Pan, which I love the concept of, but I'm not going to hit pan on anything. Like, that is just not where my palettes are right now. And I want to take that pressure off of myself. So this would just be usage based to kind of reacquaint myself with what I have in my life and whether or not I need to keep it. So more on that when I do an intro for it. But I'm also thinking about jumping back into maybe one more project. I'm leaning towards deck of panning, but let me know, is that something that you're into, or are there other projects that you would be more interested in me partaking in? I would love to know that. Also, along that same sort of lines of just kind of reintroducing myself back into the makeup that I already own. I think I'm going to do a Throwback Thursday series, and every Thursday just sort of sit down with some makeup that I've had for a while and do a look, because I think it's really important to have content out there that maybe is inspirational for things that people already have. So much of the beauty space is dominated by what's new, buy it. And I'm a part of that. I will still be buying new makeup. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like that's not the direction I'm going to live in, because I've proven to myself year after year after year that, yeah, I'm going to buy new makeup and I'm not going to feel bad about it. However, I do think that there can be balance so that you can be enjoying new makeup without forgetting about the makeup that you already have. And I do want to try to create more content around that, but I have to find a way to not be discouraged by the fact that I realize there are people that are not going to care about a palette that, I purchased 2 years ago. So I'm thinking those are kind of some of the big things that I'll be doing. But I do still want to be able to talk about new releases and review things that I find interesting. It feels like for a smaller, or in my case, a microscopic creator, I cannot physically or financially keep up with the rapid rate of releases that come out. I would bankrupt my family, and that is not a direction I have any interest in going, nor should anyone else. But I'm not going to be able to do that. And because a lot of times PR comes to bigger creators prior to releases, they are able to kind of get a jump on and give people a better idea of whether they even want to buy something when it releases. So I'm typically going to be behind the trend in that respect. And I want to take that pressure off of myself to have to try to feel like keeping up with the Joneses, because I am not a Jones. So that's kind of where I'm at, but I would love your feedback as well. Again, what are some of the things that you are interested in and that you would enjoy watching? Because I want to make sure that I am, again, creating that community that I originally set out to create. So I would love your feedback. And thank you so much for everyone who cares and hangs out with me, because I do love you guys so, so, so much. I think that's probably enough rambling for one day. I love how my hair came out. It came out super curly and fun, so love that. And yeah, if you want to subscribe, I would love that. And if you've enjoyed this video, I hope that you will give it a thumbs up. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. I hope that you're having an amazing day, and I will see you next time. Bye.